Since America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, November the 29th. Welcome to Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. I don't know about you, but I tell you what, the holiday season definitely brings some intense scheduling and a lot of things going on in and around the community and around the nation. And I just wanted to send out a note to each and every one of you to take a few minutes every day to take that mental health walk, to just focus on you, focus on praying, focus on the bigger picture of being grateful. I wanted to encourage you. I am going to be bringing to the show tomorrow a mental health component focused on mental health in the holiday season. And the reason I bring that up is because so many of us are going 10,000 different directions, and our heads are spinning, and we have so much. We have a to-do list. We have 10,000 events to attend. We have cookies to bake. We have family members who are coming. We have traveling plans that need to be made, and we still have to get those last minute Christmas gifts. So I wanted just to encourage each and every one of you, come join us here at Common Sense America, weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, here on LinkedIn, Rumble, YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel right here, and you will see daily posts on the show, the segments, and also you will hear just some of my 2-minute and 1.5-minute words of inspiration during the week as I go out for my daily mental health walk. And there is nothing wrong with doing that. We are here to take care of ourselves, but we are also here to take care of others, and we're also here to serve. And from a faith perspective, our journeys are powerful. They impact those around us for good and for bad. And so I wanted just to encourage you and lift you up. Some of the Bible verses I read this morning in 2 Corinthians talk about the old things have passed away, and behold, the new things have come, as we have therefore our faith in Christ. And I just wanted to share that word of inspiration with you. Today, we have a lot to talk about. Today, we are focusing on hashtag Giving Tuesday. Today, we are also going to be talking about what is happening in China, the communist lockdowns, the CCP. Is the United States government holding them accountable? Today, we are talking about truth. We are talking about exposing the truth and what the national mainstream media may not be necessarily highlighting. And so we're going to be bringing over a very special person to the show who is returning to the show. You may have recognized him. And then in addition to that, in the latter half of the hour, we're going to be talking with Project Christmas Cheer. They are returning to the show to talk briefly about their angel adoptions. They are adopting retirees, the elderly, children, families, mom and dads for this Christmas season in the event of giving back as we are in the first week of Advent. So we will be talking with them in the latter half of the hour. And I wanted just to make a quick note. I do look to the left or to the right, depending on what part of the screen we're looking at, to look at my notepad, to look at my notes. I get up early in the morning. I study the content. I study the guests. I study what they are bringing to the table. So if you see me look either way, I just wanted to put that out there. That is what I'm doing. I have been educating myself on what they bring to the table. I educate myself on their previous interviews. And if I look either way, I'm looking at my notes. You do not have a full screen of my news desk, if you will. And so I wanted just to let you know. And also, I get constant messages and text messages and emails from people who are watching the show on all the social platforms. So I also just wanted to let you know that I am honored for young voices. I am thankful for Maria bringing Salih to the show this morning. I'm thankful for Michelle Odom and the CL Bryant Show, who have continued to endorse my show and support this show. I'm thankful for Barbara from Harlem and her daughter Bibi, and they are on the Blue Network, and their show is Our Urban Story. I am thankful for Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast. I am also thankful for Walk in Faith and the Emmaus Center. They will be joining us tomorrow, and they are huge supporters of Common Sense America. So I just wanted to send out those grateful notes, those thankful notes, and being thankful for what we have and knowing that we are here for a purpose. On that note, I am so thankful to bring over Salih Hudayar. He is the Prime Minister of East Turkestan. And I am just so honored to have you back here. We have so much to talk about. I'm thankful for what you are doing. I saw that you were at the Department of State yesterday. I saw that you were talking about specific things about 44 of those who died and what happened with the COVID lockdowns. I would love to break it down for first and foremost, talk about what you are doing, and then let's talk about the news of the day, the international news of the day, and what is ahead for the United States government with what is happening in China.
Yes, yesterday we held a rally in front of the U.S. State Department to protest China's the Chinese government's killing, we could say, in a way, in the fact that 44 Uyghurs died in a Urumqi fire because the Chinese government didn't get there in time to put out the fire. It took them 3 hours to respond, leading to up to 44, possibly even more deaths. This in turn sparked demonstrations all across China because the Chinese people themselves, they didn't want to end up like the Uyghurs. They didn't want to end up, dead if the Chinese Communist Party continued to lock them up. So in fact, the demonstrations are still continuing as of today. However, as far as the U.S. government's response, the U.S. government hasn't stated anything other than that they are monitoring the situation and they, support the right of people to engage in peaceful protest. We also were there to call on the U.S. government to take strong and more meaningful actions to help end China's ongoing genocide of Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples in East Turkestan. Specifically to support our case against China at the International Criminal Court, recognize East Turkestan's status as an occupied country like Tibet, and appoint a special coordinator at the State Department for East Turkestani issues.
Some of the things I've been watching. So I watched your rally in front of the State Department yesterday. And first and foremost, what was the response you received in that time period of being there and you speaking and, you had quite a crowd around you. What kind of a feeling did you get? Did anybody at State Department respond to you? Did anybody ask you to leave the premises? Did anybody make any kind of action from the federal government in regards to what you guys are doing?
No, we've never had any issues with the U.S. government trying to tell us to leave or stop protesting. We've never had any issues of that sort. Sometimes it really depends. Usually they send out the person responsible for China to come out and speak with us and get any material. Unfortunately, yesterday that did not happen because there was also quite a bit of media out there. So I guess they didn't want to get into that spotlight.
Right. Well, let's talk about this. So the United States government, are they holding back on keeping the CCP accountable is my first, question. And here's why I'm asking you that in your perspective of that. We are watching what happened to these people as they were blockaded. The walls were put up and the emergency services cannot get to these people. So you had this lockdown policy of COVID. And I've noticed that there are conservative groups who I'm very in support of who are saying, the citizens of China are standing up to communism. Are we as Americans doing the same thing? Are we standing up to these lockdowns that I call the Biden administration seeks to continue to potentially put on us, especially as we head into the winter? And they're talking about all the COVID, the the triple effect and things of that nature. So let me ask you this. I'm citing Family Research Council and I'm citing the Daily Signal. A lot of them are really talking about that this morning from the standpoint, is the United States government going along with the CCP? Or can we say that those citizens of China are wanting to become, believe in democracy as what the Daily Signal posted this morning in their article? They really talked about how the citizens of China really want to have a democracy and not be under the totalitarian government. So my question to you is, from your work and what you are doing, what can we as Americans continue to do and raise our voices to protect us from going down that CCP space? And, I sit there and say, I can say this on my show. I'm going to rant here for a second. I don't see the federal government, the United States government, doing much of anything except when they go on their press conferences and say, oh, peaceful protest. And they say that all over the country. But yet Christians like myself and others are being censored when we want to stand up for our rights. So I guess my question to you is, in all of that, you are living this day in and day out as you are representing. What are your thoughts that we can, as the American citizens, say to the American government, stop what is happening over there? We got to protect these lives. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's going to be a bit difficult to get the U.S. government to take, meaningful action, especially sadly with this administration. They seem to be taking a more weaker approach on China. Had it been a Republican administration, we probably might have seen stronger actions already. Um, uh, at this rate, I don't really see the U.S. doing much. But they need to, offer support. They need to at least, if things change to where the Chinese government or the CCP starts gunning down people, the United States needs to make it very clear that they are no longer going to tolerate such a regime. And if there's a repeat of Tiananmen, 1989,
Right,
the
right,
United States needs to make it very clear, break all diplomatic ties with China. And
right.
all democratic nations need to do that, or else we will have, endorsed that the the
Yeah.
massacre of people. And this is, if China gets away with it, you bet other countries are going to want, other despotic regimes are want to do the same thing to their people.
Let me
So
ask you this, for just a thought for a second. As we head into a new year and we have a Republican House, a majority Republican House, even though we have a current Democrat, president in the Oval Office, do you have advocates who are congressional elected, newly elected members, or do you have current members of Congress who are running alongside of you to really protect these lives?
yeah, there are many people in Congress, like Senator Rubio,
Mhm.
Congressman Chris Smith. I think on terms of our issue, it's quite actually bipartisan. Luckily, in terms of speaking out for the human rights, and against the genocide. But that's not going to be enough. We need to resolve the issue at its roots, which is, this is more of a political issue as well. The fact that this genocide and colonization started with the Chinese occupation of East Turkestan in late 1949, and until we address that, there's not going to be any meaningful change for the Uyghurs. And
Mhm.
that's why we've been actively pushing for recognition of East Turkestan's status as an occupied country like Tibet. And we've been, receiving more, sympathy and solidarity in terms of that from the Republicans than, sadly, from the Democrats.
That is unfortunate because the Democrat Party usually goes more on the social agenda, social justice agenda, And the fact that here on Common Sense America, you just stated, and I am reiterating, that the Democrats have been very lackluster and involved in wanting to protect these lives of the Uyghurs, and that's uncalled for. That really is. There's a couple of things I wanted to bring up to you as well. You know that there's a couple statements that stood out to me as I read the press release that was put out. The deliberate failure to put out the fire, first and foremost, the censorship of the deaths, and the COVID lockdowns for further genocide. Talk to me about all of those things. There's so many different action items that the Chinese government is doing to these humans. These
Yes.
humans.
For example, this fire broke out
Yes.
in a Uyghur part of town, in a Uyghur building, and the government, they chained up, they sealed all the exits of that building to where people couldn't get out. They even had barricades across that building, walls put up to where people can't get out.
Why did they do that though? What was the reasoning other than they just wanted to lock people up? It was that
I
the main
mean,
reason?
that's the official reasoning, is that they were trying to maintain zero COVID policies. And then the other excuse is that, their fire trucks couldn't get through.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
Yeah.
their hoses weren't long enough, and they didn't have proper equipment to rescue the people. How do they not have proper equipment? You have saws, you have axes. You could have sawed off those locks, sawed off those, you know, rods that you had put up in place to prevent people from leaving, and try to get them out.
Hmm.
You could have had a tarp to where people could jump out of their windows and you catch them. But of course, none of that happened, and it took 3 hours for them to even start getting there, because uh, unfortunately, because the people were Uyghur and majority of the firefighters were Chinese and the security forces were Chinese. Uh, because of the Chinese government's racist, discriminatory views of the Uyghurs, even their security and police forces, have the same perception. So they're like, ah, so what if it's Uyghurs? Like, we really shouldn't care. And even after these deaths, the Chinese government censored it to where they're like, oh, only 10 people died, and
Hmm.
then they started removing posts stating otherwise. They started arresting people who started, posting about these issues,
Hmm.
the fire, and in other cases, if there, I've seen other cases like, even if it had been the Han Chinese who had been affected by this,
Right.
there would have been a national memorial. They would have had a day of mourning or something of that sort. But because these are ethnically Uyghur, no such thing. While the Han Chinese were able to come out and protest, because fearing for their lives, they're like, okay, oh crap, Uyghurs just got killed. The same thing could happen to us if they keep
Right.
this COVID lockdowns up. In terms of Uyghurs, we weren't able to even go out into the streets, yet alone even hold to protest, yet alone to even hold a memorial for our people, for the dead.
So let me ask you this. The local, I looked at the press release and it said local authorities installed those barricades and bolted the doors. Who do you classify as the local authorities? Because when I sit here and look at, America, and sitting here looking at North Carolina, you have your local board members, your local commissioners, your local mayors. What was the equivalent to that over there? Who was the quote local people, authorities taking these actions, and you seeing at the light at the end of the tunnel that they were intending to kill these people? I'm speaking for you, but correct me if I'm wrong. That's how it looks. That's they continue to kill these people, and then my next question to you after the local piece is this: are we going to continue to see more demonstrations of Chinese people standing up to communism? And are they going to lock them up as well?
Well, in terms of the first question,
Yeah.
so local in this sense is the city of Urumqi,
Okay.
um, or the municipality of Urumqi. So uh, Urumqi predominantly is a Chinese city now. It wasn't always like this.
Okay.
Prior to 1949, it was predominantly Uyghur, but after intensive Chinese occupation and colonization, it has shifted. Everything, however, is controlled by the Communist Party, by the
Mhm.
central government. Whatever orders, that comes from Beijing,
Yeah.
the local governments implement.
Mhm.
And Urumqi is also the seat of the so-called, autonomous region. It's where the puppet governors and the Chinese Communist Secretary reside, along with all the other top level communist officials.
Mhm.
So it's them who gave the orders. So local in the sense that Beijing's Communist Party appointees in the region gave the orders.
Mhm.
As far as the demonstrations, it seems at this moment that demonstrations are continuing. The Chinese government surprisingly has been very not necessarily restrained, but very careful in terms of not being overtly violent yet.
What do you
Uh,
think that is?
well, I think it's because I think certain segments of the Chinese government are fed up with Xi Jinping,
Okay.
and so they are, if not supporting it, tacitly allowing it to happen by, restraining, trying to restrain a brutal response.
Mhm.
And I think this is the fact that, especially in Shanghai, like where
Mhm.
protesters called for Xi Jinping to step down. You
Mhm.
have to understand that Shanghai is where
I've been there. I've been
China's
there.
financial center. One.
Yes. Mhm.
Secondly, it's where the Jiang faction of the Chinese Communist Party,
Mhm.
which oppose Xi Jinping,
Mhm.
are in power. So they control the Shanghai area,
Mhm.
and they oppose Xi Jinping. So the fact that they allowed, even these, take down the CCP, take down, Xi Jinping. We don't want a dictator. Is a direct message from the opposing faction to Beijing saying, you know, we don't like your policies because the for the past 120 days, these
Right.
lockdowns have had tremendous economic impacts,
Oh,
negative economic impacts
I know.
to the Chinese economy, to many Chinese companies. Many people have lost their businesses, and the elites in Shanghai, like the business capital of China, many of them went out of business. They're losing a lot, so they are tired and fed up, and I think this is their way of telling Xi Jinping, either step down or we're going to keep this up.
Well, let me ask you this. Watching coups happen in the United States federal government, do you think they'd be doing that against the Chinese president right now? Do you think that is in the works, in the coming months? And a second question to that, do you think we're going to see more deaths happen because of the lockdown? You mentioned the loss of businesses, but do you think you're going to see more intentional deaths ahead, and where you are trying to be proactive to prevent those?
Yes, I think especially if we don't see it inside the Chinese provinces themselves, we will
Mhm.
definitely see that in East Turkestan because the Chinese government, especially the Chinese military, will use this to the global attention that's happening across the demonstrations across China, to use this to mask their to mask their ethnic cleansing operations in East Turkestan. Already, they are sending people in mass to new concentration camps. Even here in the winter, there's videos. Are people being rounded up in the snow and being thrown into tent-like concentration camps, and you know. Being essentially left to freeze in those tents. And of course, the Chinese government is going to come out and say, "Oh, uh, it's tragic that these people died. We were just trying to, you know, quarantine them, etc., etc." If it even gets into the news, because this is the way that genocidal regimes operate.
Well, let me ask you this. If it gets into the news, have you, knowing that you have a phenomenal publicist, and I know that you've been on the front lines really talking about this, have you been able to get good news coverage in talking about this and raising the awareness, talking the truth versus what some types of media would not necessarily highlight?
Well, with most of the conservative media,
Yeah,
they're more open to
talking.
hearing everything, to
Yeah.
hearing the truth. Unfortunately, occasionally we do have luck with the left wing media, but they're a bit more, or the liberal media, and they're a bit more uh, self censored about certain things. For example, uh, yesterday.
Yeah.
I advocate for East Turkestani independence, but the left wing or the liberal media, like
Yeah.
AFP,
Uh-huh.
you know, wrote that I advocate for Xinjiang independence. These two things are completely opposite. East Turkestan is the name of our country, whereas Xinjiang is the Chinese colonial imposed term meaning the colony or the new territory. I don't advocate for a colony or a new territory's independence. I advocate for my own country,
Right.
for
Right.
my own people.
Perhaps so, two things that come to mind. Perhaps they didn't get it quite right because they weren't educated well enough on it and they just had to throw something together, or they are trying to mislead the content and what you are doing, trying to mislead the narrative of what is truly happening, which is why we have you here at Common Sense America to really focus on truth, to talk about the truth, because the audience here is very conservative. They are those of faith. They are those who are willing to fight for human life. And, you bring that to the table. And let me ask you one final question as we wrap this segment, because I want to get you back. And I have been watching this story very closely, and I noticed it hit over Thanksgiving. My question to you is, what next do you have on the forefront where my audience can come alongside of you and support you? Do you have any more press conferences coming up? Do you have any more events coming up? Where also can they follow you? I saw that you are on a ton of different social media places. And also I have been posting your website where they can go and check you out more. So quickly, what do you have coming down the pike that we can be supportive of?
Well, right now, so November 22nd, we will have a press conference and a rally as well to commemorate or to condemn the 73rd
Right.
anniversary of the overthrow of our independent state, the East Turkestan Republic, back in
Mhm.
1949. Um, After that, we're also pushing for legislation. As we have been. Hopefully, now that the it's a majority,
Yes.
a Republican majority, we're hoping to get a new legislation, at least a resolution passed, recognizing the fact that East Turkestan is an occupied country. People can follow us on social media, either myself directly at Salih Hudayar, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or other social media platforms, or our government in exile at etexile.gov on, again, Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms.
Well, I'm thankful for you coming to the show, Salih Hudayar. You are an extraordinary human being. You were the Prime Minister of the East Turkestan government in exile. And one thing I will say is, for all of those who are tuning in here at Common Sense America, you struck some very hardcore topics that we as the American people need to be aware of, as the constant COVID conversation continues to make the news headlines, and what is next. And you brought up a really very valid point of loss of businesses, loss of lives with the lockdown policy of China, and a lesson to be learned and a lesson to be watched for the American people as we head into the winter season. And so I'm grateful for you bringing that truth to the table. And we would love to have you come back as you are working on legislation and amendments with the new leaders in Congress. Please come back. Let's talk about that. Let's break it down. And many blessings to you this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you. Have a great day, sir.
Usual. Thank you.
Bye-bye. For all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill, and I am just so grateful for our powerful audience who are tuning in on YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, all the social channels, and also to Money Talk with Melanie, to Barbara from Harlem and BB Reed and our urban story, to the guys at Defenders Live, Michelle Odom and the CL Bryant Show. Thank you all so much for your support of Common Sense America and the amazing guests that we bring to the table to talk about truth, to raise awareness, to raise that flag on what is really happening around our nation that the left and the liberal media will not tell you. You just heard it from Salih himself. On that note, we are going to be focusing on something a little bit more local to Eastern North Carolina, and that is Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. They joined us about a month ago to talk about their program, and today is Giving Tuesday. In case you didn't remember, I've been posting it, talking about it nonstop, and this whole week, even though today is Giving Tuesday, this week we are going to be bringing back to the show, like I said, Project Christmas Cheer this morning. Also, the Bowery Mission, they're going to be joining us later in the week, and a couple new nonprofits that I want to raise awareness for as we are in this holiday season, this Christmas season, the season of giving back, the season of being grateful. So on that note, I have the honor to bring over Melissa Urquhart. She is with Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. Good morning. Nice to have you back.
Good morning, Eden. How are you? It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I love your beautiful Christmas tree behind you. Are you at the location or are you at your home?
I'm actually at my home. That's all my kids' decorations through the year.
Oh, it's so nice to have you back. So if you could give us an update on today is Giving Tuesday, which my audience is well aware of. So talk to us about how are things going at Project Christmas Cheer and what can we do to help?
Well, we are right in the throe of things here this time of year. We still have several weeks of applications that we will be taking at the Project Christmas Cheer offices. As of right now, we have had 381 children as of the end of last week go on our angel tree. That number's up from last year. Last year, we served a total of 557 children. And this year, we're seeing increased numbers across the board. So we have 118 seniors on our tree already, 244 adults, and 381 children that already have come in. And we still have several weeks of applications to go. So, yeah, so we're right in the middle of it.
So how many more weeks do you have for the applications?
So the applications will go on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 a.m. until 1 until December 9th. And then angel trees will be open at the Sports Center until all the angels are adopted, and at One Harbor Church in Morehead City on Sundays until the 18th of December.
Okay. And talk to me about with Giving Tuesday, what are some of your top needs right now for the giving back to all the angels, especially the kids?
Absolutely. Well, you know, we're so blessed in Carteret County that we have a wonderful community that helps all of these children and angels. You know, we couldn't do it without the community support adopting these seniors and children. However, Project Christmas Cheer as a whole, we also provide to every senior and historically to the families a shopping card that they can use for food and paper goods and things like that they need during the holiday season. So that's something that we fit the bill for. We fund that, and we do that entirely based on donations that come in. Okay. So this year, one of the biggest needs in our communities we have found has been for seniors. They have kind of fallen through the gap with the additional COVID assistance and federal funding that is coming in. They are in a lot of need this year. And so we are providing every senior a $100 gift card to be able to buy food, cleaning supplies. We're also packing gift bags for them. So, you know, that's one of the things we're really in need of, is so that we can, you know, provide those gift cards to the families.
Okay. So providing gift cards. What about in regards to the kids aspect? Are you going to be giving them gift cards as well as toys? Do you need us to go out and buy toys? And how does that work?
Well, so the way that works is this. So our children, we call them angels. And so each one of them is actually written on a paper angel, and it's hung on a tree at one of our adoption sites.
Okay.
So you can go to One Harbor Church or the Sports Center of Morehead City, and their hours are listed on our website. And you can actually pick a child from the tree. And so we get their clothing sizes, we get their wish list from their parents when they apply. And then we ask that family, if you could only have one thing for Christmas, food, clothing, or toys, what is your greatest need? And 9 times out of 10, that need is clothing or food. It's not a toy.
Right.
So that gives a little insight into the family. When you adopt the child, you're given the contact information for the family. So you can actually call and find out if there's a need for the parents. I know one year a couple called, and the father had been given a job and he needed steel-toed boots to be able to work that job, and he didn't have them. And so they took him out and bought him steel-toed boots so he could actually, go to work.
Let me ask you this. You said the numbers have gone up with the adopting children angels, or angel children, if you will. Why do you think that is? What do you think has caused that?
It really just depends. We've been stuck in this, COVID pandemic, for years now. And not only have we seen it in businesses, not only have we seen it in the economy, you've got food prices going up, you've got gas prices going up. In Carteret County specifically, we're in our slow season. So businesses aren't, this time of year, businesses don't have the hours to give their hourly workers that they normally do. So it's a rough time of year anyways in Carteret County. And then you add to it the increased cost and the inflation and just the things that we've seen the last couple of years. And it's kind of a recipe, for disaster.
Yeah. Have you noticed, not to give away any privacy information, but have you noticed any of those being military kids or veteran kids?
I have not been like one-on-one in touch with our coordinators specifically as to if they're military families or not. We do have a military population in Carteret County.
Right.
And I know that the military also offers assistance. There's different programs on bases. So I don't know if we get as many of those as there are in need, but if they are in the county and fit the criteria, then we would absolutely help them.
Yeah. I just was curious because like you said, we have all the bases around us. And it's interesting that you bring that up for Carteret County because we are such a beach and tourism area. So just for the audience who are not local, for them to know that this area is definitely quieter during the winter season because you don't have that beach population and tourism going on at that time period. So like you said, hours of restaurants are limited, the hourly wages, all of that, it really does add up and affect the businesses. Do you have any other thoughts as to where our audience, they have heard me talk on all different topics as we go through the holiday season. I've been collecting clothes for a mission in New York that I used to serve with, but where could I could send out a PSA and send this around. What's the low-hanging fruit that we could quickly get involved, even for those in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Massachusetts, all who were tuning in?
Well, there's so many organizations throughout the country. You have your Salvation Army locations locally. You could go talk to them and say, what are you seeing locally that is a need? You could talk to your Toys for Tots organizations. As far as Project Christmas Cheer goes in our area, again, we work entirely on donations. So, donations are a big thing for us to be able to provide the food for the families each year. But really just get out in your community and see if you have children in school, you can talk to counselors at your child's school, see if there's family they're aware of. We're very fortunate in Carteret County. We have a backpack blessings program that, we'll send backpacks of food home with children on Fridays so that they have food on weekends. But, the people that are involved with the children and the families within your community, they know those who are in need. And if you reach out to them, I guarantee you, they could tell you someone in your community that could use your help this Christmas.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So what we'll be doing throughout the rest of the week is we're bringing all different types of nonprofits to talk about Giving Tuesday because it continues on.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, not just one day. And really, it's year long. I mean, Christmas is such a wonderful time of year where we all kind of focus
Yeah.
on the needs of those around us and putting them first and
Yeah.
just sharing love through Christmas cheer. But, really, Christmas is year round. And so often our seniors and our families in need get forgotten when we leave the holiday season.
Yeah.
And so it's important to remember that there are needs year round in your community that you can help with.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, and just to kind of back up the point that you made with regards to elderly and the seniors, I noticed when I was home in Pennsylvania up north, there is such a need to look out for the seniors, especially in the wintertime, and the elderly. And that is happening more and more as we see them, just dealing with the difficult, like you said, the food costs, the gas costs, the heating bills, and what's
Yes.
next. So that's something for all of us here at Common Sense America to kind of really tune into and check in with our communities. One final question for you, and then I'll let you get back to the amazing work you guys are doing. You mentioned throughout the year, obviously, Thanksgiving, Christmas, everybody is getting involved. Everybody wants to do something, and I'm excited for that. But what can we do throughout the year to work with you and to help you leading up to the next Christmas? Where are needs really needing to be met during that time of year?
Well, we're a very seasonal organization as Project Christmas Cheer. Our focus is families and adults and seniors at Christmas.
Mhm.
So, we have numerous fundraising opportunities throughout the year that, we advertise on our website and keep the need up. I point you in the direction of the different organizations in your community. Talk to your churches, talk to your food pantries. If you have any domestic abuse shelters, if you have a men and women's shelter, speak to those organizations in your community to find out how you can help year round, because there is such a need, not just in Carteret County, but all around the world, and all around the United States, for families and children and seniors year round. You can start with social services. I know that they have several seniors within our community that they have responsibility for. They don't have any family. And so, just to go visit someone, check with a nursing home, there is always something you can do year round.
Yes, most definitely. I promise you one last question, but I have another thought. Something ran by me. Have you seen any in Carteret County, and this is for the Carteret County audience, have you seen an increase in homelessness and through the angels that people are adopting? Have you noticed that at all?
We don't really specifically, deal with the homeless population. They have different groups that work with them. We don't get a lot of the homeless population into Project Christmas Cheer just because of the issue of
Everything.
gifts and presents and food and that sort of thing. They kind of seek help in other avenues. I do know that we have a homeless population within Carteret County. I know that Carteret County Social Services works very closely with those homeless encampments and tries to provide any assistance to those families and housing opportunities for those families. We have different groups here within Carteret County, like Family Promise, that specifically work with homeless families. Within our community. We have Hope Mission that has a men's shelter, and then we have a domestic abuse shelter here as well. But Family Promise works specifically with families that are homeless and tries to get them back on their feet and get them in a home. And so we are very blessed here to have different organizations that work hand in hand with those in need year round.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Well, thank you for just kind of shedding a little bit of light on that. Having worked in New York for so many years with the homeless up there, and then starting to see the encampments around here, and just kind of reaching out to see what is available. So I'm grateful for ministries like you. Final note: where can everybody find you? Are you on Facebook, Twitter? What's your social channels and all these?
Absolutely. We are on Facebook as Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. You can also reach our website, which is scrolling across the bottom, projectchristmascheer.com. You can, we have a PO Box, 1914 Morehead City, 28557 if you want to mail us. And we also accept Venmo. So our Venmo is at PCC 2021. So you can reach out to us any of those locations and contact us. Our information's on there, and you can see exactly what we have going on this year.
Oh, fabulous. Melissa, thank you so much for coming back and giving us an update on Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. Thank you for your service and have a wonderful Christmas season.
Yes, Eden, thank you so much for having me. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. It is about 9:45, 15 minutes until the top of the hour here at Common Sense America. It's Tuesday, November the 29th, and we just had Melissa Urquhart with Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. Go to Project Christmas Cheer, all typed out.com to check out their work in Carteret County. Potentially adopt an angel, adopt an elderly person, adopt a child, adopt a family, adopt a mom, adopt a dad. Or if you are not local to Eastern North Carolina, go adopt a family this holiday season, whether it is with your local nonprofits, whether it is also with the Bowery Mission, who we'll have on Thursday, or if it is a women's program or a shelter. There are so many different ways to get involved. But throughout this week, #GivingTuesday, if you have any ideas, if you have recommendations, drop us a line on the comment section here at Common Sense America on YouTube, on Facebook, on my LinkedIn profile, on Rumble, and anywhere else you'd like to share. Send us your comments. You can text them to me, private message them to me, and we'll share them with our audience. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining Common Sense America. I wanted to show you really quickly as I've been sitting here. This is who we will have tomorrow. Christmas features include the Emmaus Center, Spirit of Christmas in Brooklyn, New York. They will be joining our show tomorrow. Our Walk in Faith TV host, Craig Syracusa, he is a dear friend to the Common Sense America show. He has been here once before to talk about his work and his show, Walk in Faith. He also runs the Emmaus Center, and he and New York tenor Christopher Macchio will be joining us as well. They are both good friends to the show and are putting on the Spirit of Christmas celebration at the Emmaus Center. Save the date if you're going to be close to New York and if you would like to see a Christmas celebration. You don't want to miss this event. It is December the 13th, which is a Tuesday evening at the Emmaus Center in Brooklyn. Join us for a beautiful night of music to celebrate the Christmas season, and it's to benefit futuresinEducation.org. So I would love for you to tune in tomorrow, Wednesday, November the 30th at 9 a.m. Eastern. We are going to be talking live with Craig and also Christopher Macchio about the Christmas features, the Emmaus Center Spirit of Christmas celebration in Brooklyn. So I look forward to having you guys join us tomorrow to hear an amazing event and interviews with both of them. That will be the full segment for tomorrow. We're going to take a little break from politics. I may talk a little bit of politics tomorrow, but kitchen table topics will then continue on for Thursday and Friday as well. Also, some more Christmas features for the coming week. We will also have some book authors coming to speak with us, and then we'll also talk about the war in Ukraine and also what is happening in the United States Senate right now. Do you guys remember Dr. Mark Harris with the Family Research Council, who joined the show about a week and a half ago? It was before Thanksgiving, talking about the Marriage Act that's happening in the United States Senate. So I wanted to read to you the updates to keep you informed and to call your United States senators, because this is what's happening. The Senate today in the Daily Signal, and go to dailysignal.com. I will post this link for you guys as well. And the story is the Senate advances radical respect for Marriage Act. So remember what Dr. Mark Harris called it. He called it the Disrespect Marriage Act. The United States senators voted Monday, which was last night, on a motion to invoke cloture on an amendment to the so-called Respect for Marriage Act, advancing the legislation one step closer to passage. The Senate will now vote today, this afternoon, on Republican Utah Senator Mike Lee's amendment, which is a 60-vote threshold, Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford amendment, and Republican Florida Senator Marco Rubio's amendment. Senators will also vote Tuesday, today, on the final passage of the bill, which is set at a 60-vote threshold. The quote said from Mike Lee last night was, "Bad news. The RFMA, which is short for the bill, without sufficient protection for religious liberty, just progressed further in the Senate. Good news, though, there's still time to adopt his amendment and protect the religious liberties enshrined in the First Amendment." Senator Lee has repeatedly raised concerns about the contents of the Respect for Marriage Act, urging Democrats and Republicans to come to an agreement on his amendment, creating a strict policy that the federal government can't discriminate on either viewpoint of marriage, whether same-sex or traditional. It's interesting, as I'm just going through my final monologue of the show with about 8 minutes left, why is this even being a topic, and why does the federal government have to be in charge of marriage across the board? I am in favor of traditional and biblical marriage, but the government doesn't need to be a part of this aspect at all. And we even heard from Dr. Mark Harris talking about that aspect. And my other concern is this: when this goes through, when this Marriage Act goes through, what about the traditional marriage? And I know Family Research Council put out today, if you haven't followed them or have signed up for their newsletters, please do. They send out a couple days a week on what is happening on Capitol Hill and what is happening around our nation. And, I asked Dr. Mark Harris, what about traditional marriage? Will it now be censored even more so in the public square? And that is my biggest concern. So the government is now telling us what they recognize as marriage, but what about biblical and traditional marriage? And that is the biggest question. And that is a concern of Senator Lee. And remember also, as we were talking about that, the senators that we were very surprised who voted for this act, including Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa, including Todd Young from Indiana, two members of Congress I have worked with over the years. And frankly, I was very concerned that they were going in that direction. And you know what? This is common sense. Common sense, kitchen table. Those are conservative members, senators that I have always been very supportive of. And I'm taking a step back and sitting here at my kitchen table and here at my news desk and saying, so why would I continue to support them if they're going to go in this direction? So let me continue on with the article. Lee has repeatedly raised concerns about the contents of the Respect for the Marriage Act, like I said, urging Democrats and Republicans to come in agreement on his amendment, creating a strict policy that the federal government can't discriminate on other viewpoint of marriage, whether same-sex or traditional. In a letter sent last week directed at the 12 GOP senators who voted for the legislation, Lee emphasized that this amendment would ensure that the federal bureaucrats do not take discriminatory actions against individuals, organizations, nonprofits, and other entities based on their sincerely held religious beliefs or moral convictions about marriage by prohibiting the denial or revocation of tax-exempt status, licenses, contracts, benefits, etc. Quote, he also said it would affirm that individuals still have the right to act according to their faith and deepest convictions, even outside of their church or home, the senator added, urging the senators to oppose cloture on the bill unless his amendment is added. He also said, the free exercise of religion is absolutely essential to the health of our republic, Lee wrote in his letter, which was signed by 20 of his Republican colleagues and first published by the Daily Signal. He also, end quote, we must have the courage to protect the freedom to exercise of our religion and the health of our republic. I will post this for you as we end the show today. But if you do have comments, suggestions, ideas, or if you would like to pray for what is about to happen today in this afternoon's vote, it will be this afternoon. The Senate will vote on the Republicans' amendment, on United States Senator Mike Lee's amendment, along with James Langford from Oklahoma and Florida Senator Mark Rubio's amendments. And the final passage of the bill is set for another vote today as well. So if you have not called your senator's office, or if you had thought about it and said, you know what, I'm going to hold off, now's the time to go ahead and flood the Capitol switchboard and call your senator today. And also pray that traditional marriage would be protected. And more than anything, our freedom of religion would be protected as the government continues to seek more and more control. Just remember what Salih Hudayar said in the first segment of what China is doing, the CCP is doing to its citizens and what they're doing. Just remember that. Remember what the past couple of years have looked like with the authoritarian state. So just be very careful and be very watchful. Situational awareness is key, especially as we are watching our federal government take more and more control. I say freedom back to the people, we the people. And we here at Common Sense America are about truth, talking about the facts, talking about the kitchen table agenda, talking about our families and our futures and what is ahead for our nation. On that note, many blessings to you on this Tuesday, November the 29th. We will be right back here tomorrow. Don't forget to tune in for our Christmas features with Christopher Macchio, the New York tenor, and also Walk in Faith TV host Craig Syracusa. They will be joining the show to talk about their Christmas spectacular at the Emmaus Center in Brooklyn, New York. Until then, you guys have a wonderful day. Be strong, be courageous.